All right, we're going live, boys. If anybody can check YouTube for us. All right, shall we begin? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. No, doesn't feel right. It's all right. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Turin Giants podcast, episode number 295. My name is Farhad. I'm the host that loves you most. I have Kevin with me here, straight from Turin. Actually, just back from Turin, if I should say that. Frederick and Zach will be joining in a few minutes. We are live on YouTube. Welcome. Here we go.
Good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, boys and girls. Shut the fuck up.
Con i contadini per Nedved, con Pirlo, la conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, no! Alex, Del Piero! Palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile! Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium! Buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno.
Buongiorno indeed. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sorry, a little confusion here. We are also live on YouTube. That's a lot for a person like me. So I'm trying to keep everything straight here, but we're on. Kevin, Freddie, what's up, buddy? How you doing, boys?
Doing well.
I'd like to dedicate first part of the podcast to Kevin because he, like I just mentioned, just not too long ago landed back in Boston. His trip to Turin was a success. He got to witness a historic victory, number 200 at Allianz Stadium. We want to hear all about it. We want to hear how hanging out with old friends went. We have a couple questions from Instagram. Of course, you took over the Instagram page at Turin Giants and showed us behind the scenes how to get to the stadium and the stadium atmosphere and warm-ups and stuff like that. People have questions. Welcome back, my friend. Floor is yours. How was it?
It was awesome. So happy to be here. I have a season ticket this year, and I've just went to my second game, so I'm putting that
well spent.
to good use. Yeah, I think had kind of the wrong expectations of what I'd be able to do this season. I guess that's what happens when you have two kids under two. But much better than the first game I went to this year. So I was at the home match against Napoli, that really dreadful 0-0 draw right at the start of the season, and now had the opportunity to see our squad under Tudor with kind of a bit of revitalized energy. So it was a lot of fun. And as Farhad, obviously, as you know, and maybe some of our listeners too, who have been listening for a while, I was living in Torino for the better part of 3 years and had the chance to go to a lot of home games over the last couple seasons. And so now, like, having moved back to the US, residing in Boston, going to a match was that much more special to me, because I don't want to say that it wasn't special when you get to go regularly, but things that you're doing like once or twice a week or a couple times a month, it becomes more routine and pattern than something that like really was special, and getting the opportunity to go back to Turin, which is a city that I really consider my second home. It's a home away from home. It's a city that I love, dear to my heart beyond just Juve. But the chance to go back and see some
It is a
friends,
lovely town. Very nice people.
absolutely, and to go to the match, which We had a really kind of exciting 45 minutes, which I know we'll definitely unpack.
You enjoyed the first part, didn't you?
It was fun. I mean, sitting next to two of my good friends, and especially after that first goal went in after 90 seconds, and just completely losing it and hugging each other and high fiving people around us, and then Keenan's goal, where I mean, I would argue that we would be challenged to find a goal that was better in terms of its build up, its technique, and just the coolness of the finish.
But technically, you were looking at the opposite side, correct?
No. So they were scoring right at on Curva Sud. So I'm in the Secondo Agnello, or like the second ring.
Second
It's
tier.
not directly where everybody is with the fans and the banners
Mhm.
and the chanting. It's a little bit more towards the corner. But the view of the pitch is actually quite nice up there in section 217, I think it is. But,
Very nice.
I mean, I could go in 100 different directions, so maybe you could, you or Freddie can ask some questions or kind of.
I mean,
guide
tell me how hanging out with Luigi, mood around the stadium. Was there a lot of empty seats? If I'm not sure if the time lapse video from when you were entering the stadium is still up, but your YouTube job was well done. Thank you for taking over, and well, I'm not gonna say it. Yeah, it was great. But tell us more.
Yeah.
I have a small question, if you don't mind, Kev.
Oh, sure,
I
sure.
was wondering if you could feel the change in atmosphere because of the strikes of Kuvasuda and whatever, and the whole hostility towards Juventus as a club from the fans. Could you feel it as opposed to like a season or two ago where everything wasn't hunky-dory, but at least you had like the support of the fans there and more atmosphere? Or is it
So-
just my TV
Yeah,
that's
it's
giving me the wrong vibes?
it's a great question, and you can't always pick up on everything on TV, and because I think just the way that some of the announcers and the broadcasting happens, it's very hard to pick up on some of the of what's being said. So I can't really compare it personally to what has happened over, like, what we know has happened over the last couple weeks, and knowing that there's been somewhat of kind of a protest and some silence against the management and what they've seen from the players and the experience on the pitch. We know that there has been frustration, anger, resentment. I mean, we all saw what happened at some of the away matches when fans started leaving in protest. So I didn't experience that personally, just from what friends have told me and what we've read or seen on social media. But in comparison to that, pretty much a night and day difference, I would say. I mean, as soon as the players came out and started warming up, the energy's there, the flags are going, the orchestrated songs and singing happened, and then right from minute one, they were going. Even in Tudor's first match, I think there was 5 to 10 minute protest where they were pretty silent for the first 5 to 10 minutes against in that Genoa match. So I'm sure there's something that they have a gripe with. There kind of always is. There always seems to be something that some of the Curva Sud factions are upset with the management about. But you wouldn't have noticed from how it went on Saturday evening. There weren't any songs that I could pick up that was directed towards the management, other than some of the traditional self-serving stuff around that, singing "La Juve siamo noi," like we are Juve, and the talking about the Curva Sud, kind of yelling "Ula la curva," don't. But
My God, we need that sound drop.
Yeah.
I need to isolate that.
But it's great to see this, because throughout the couple seasons where I went very regularly, there was one, it was COVID throughout part of it, right? So some of that wasn't allowed, but even when stadiums were back at full capacity, a lot of the kind of Agnelli imposed restrictions on the curva was they were still in effect. There were no flags, there were no megaphones, no banners, and as a result of that, the environment was hurt by it. It was
Sure.
only kind of last season, maybe about a quarter of the way through, when I think some of the restrictions were lifted and made for a much better environment. And this was one of the better ones that I've personally experienced.
Thank you. That was a very good answer to my stupid question.
No, it's a good one, and it's something that it's, and we talked about this in other podcast episodes, but for the folks tuning in now, the relationship
We do have
with-
viewers, by the way, boys.
Nice, amazing. The welcome, folks. The relationship / importance of the ultras is such an interesting dynamic, and I think there are a lot of really great people who are a part of it, and there are some idiots within certain sections, and sometimes those personalities and opinions and maybe a little bit of kind of egoism or narcissism with just the implied importance of these fan groups can get in the way sometimes. But you can't deny how critical their
Presence.
their presence is. Yeah, how
Sure.
important their presence is in the stadium, that adds so much to the experience. And I think both things can be true, that I have such love and admiration for them being there, that adds to the stadium experience, but sometimes get very frustrated with the stuff that drives some of their decision making and the protests and some things, rather than just being there and supporting your team.
And you know, if you watch videos of 8-10 years ago, Curva Sud can be so beautiful. It can be such a beating heart of the stadium. There's still flags there. Songs are there, but if you see, we mentioned that unbeaten run that Inter ended, that whole era of Juve, the early-ish comeback and dominance, it was just beautiful to see, because now it's sort of flags in the middle, but you see flags even on the top tier. And last time I was there for the Real Madrid game back in the day, it's been a long time since I visited. The top tier, even the second, third tier had flags as well. Actually, always wonder people who's sitting behind those flags, and there's certainly other teams that do that as well. If you watch Bayern games, the flags are all over. You're basically not watching the game, right? I mean, you're catching glimpses of it every 3 seconds.
I mean,
or so.
if you're right behind, if you're right behind one of those big flags, it's hard. I mean, even look at the Olimpico in match with Roma and Lazio.
Roma, that's right.
The amount of flags that they have going in their curvas, plus you're removed even further because you have the track going around. I don't know what the hell that they see. I'm sure it was terrible in the Delle Alpi as well, in those seats.
It was. I remember back in the day, I went to Delle Alpi more than I went to the Allianz, to be honest.
Sorry, boys, my kid's school is calling. Let me take this. Talk amongst yourself.
No worries.
All good.
And you couldn't see shit. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Even back then, like we had those smoke grenades and things, like the torches and whatever. And that really, especially at cold nights, made for like a really foggy environment. Then you had the banners and the flags, like 6 feet tall and 5 feet wide and shit like that. And then you had the athletic ring around it as well. So yeah, you couldn't see shit, but the atmosphere was awesome at times. I mean, it was really, really cool. But I always say that if you go to watch a game live, you do it more for the atmosphere, because the quality you have of the game itself, or the vision that you have is usually better on screen, to be honest.
There's not a bad seat in the Allianz. It
No,
really
no.
is an awesome stadium, and it's interesting because the season ticket I had last year, I was in like row 7 or 8, like right at midfield, and so you're right there on the players, especially when they're warming up. I mean, like they're right there in front of you, and they wave and clap and acknowledge your presence, which is pretty cool as a fan. And then you're right there on top of it. But the ticket I got this year, much like again in the second section up, kind of in the Curva Sud area, but more towards one of the corners. I was thinking about it, even though it's a much less expensive ticket and you're further away, your the command of what's going on the pitch and seeing the player movement and the openings and what the players are thinking and what they're trying to orchestrate, it's actually a much cooler viewing experience. And I really, really preferred it.
I
Very
think
nice.
that was the reason why they made it so small, to have a unique viewing point and actually a good seat in the house wherever you sit. I think that was the whole idea behind it. And having another ring above that would eliminate that factor. So I think that's why they did it. Hey, look, it's Zach. Hi,
There
Zach.
he is.
Let's
There he
go.
is.
Let's go. Busy man. Busy
Welcome.
busy man.
I wanted to give a quick
bouncing
shout
from.
out. Sorry, Zach. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Freddie. No, go ahead.
I wanted to give a quick shout out to Massimo Lesti in the chat, who received.
Yeah, I wanted to go through the
shirt.
comments as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but caught my
good.
eye. So shout out Massimo, everybody that's here, and thanks for the support for buying that lovely, lovely t-shirt from us.
Yeah, thank you. So, Zach, welcome, buddy. So let's let's get with the program here. We are streaming live on YouTube. Again, forgive us, only a second time, still figuring it out. But I think we should be good. From now on, we should be doing more of these. Thank you all for joining. Let's read some comments here. Fellow Juve podcaster is joining us. Juve Corner Cast. Ciao, boys. Definitely important 3 points against Lecce. We're finally showing some progress in the terms of mentality and in terms of what Tudor is trying to implement. We will go through our thoughts on the game. Sorry, Freddie, I still have you on the big screen. Yorio is coming back. He's returning. Ciao, ragazzi. Ciao. Juve Cornercast has another question. There's comments on Ultrazano. I think Zach had comments regarding our reading of the comments last time. So we'll try to do it a little more often, a little up to date. I know people are leaving comments. Anthony is joining us. He has a comment about Tudor. We'll go back to those comments pertaining to the game itself. I just want to give some shout outs. Massimo Lesti. Ciao tutti, Forza Juve. Loving the Dele Alpi shirt I got from y'all. Yes, he won it in the podcast we did with Uncle
Nice.
Beppe. So yeah, he got a free shirt from us. TurinGiants.com is currently under construction, but it should be back up, and we're adding more stuff always. And then you boys can pick out the comments that you want to discuss, but we do have a packed show, so let's keep those answers shorter than usual. Should we do questions, or what should we do next? We discussed, Zach, in case you missed. Well, you did miss it. We talked about Kevin's experience at the game, and now we're trying to slowly get into the game itself. There's a lot of news. I have a lot of tabs open. I forgot to introduce Alessandro Belpiero. Here we go. One of you guys want to pick up a question so I can kind of regroup here?
Let's I'd love to start with Anthony's question here. Well, it's more of a statement, but I've always wanted Tudor at the club. His Verona side was a joy to watch. And personally, admittedly, I didn't watch a lot of what he had done at Verona other than following the results and being very aware of his impact with that side and really getting them to kind of punch above their weight class. But what I really enjoyed about the match on Saturday was getting to see Tudor's his personality, or at least what you could observe, the way that he would interact with the fans, the way that he would interact with the players, seeing his passion. I think one thing that we were very critical of Malta was just his connectedness with the players. And certainly towards the end of his tenure, knowing how he lost the locker room and that kind of respect and interaction and relationship with the players and consequently the fans was certainly soured. And I made a comment to our guys here in our WhatsApp group, but then also some of the stuff that was shared on Instagram over the weekend. In all of the matches that I have been to, and in all of the matches that my friends have been to, and they've been living in Turin longer than I had never seen a Juve coach actually be on the pitch during the warm-ups, meaning about, I don't know, roughly half hour before kickoff, there's some orchestration. They announce the club. They come out.
He was almost in a circle with them in the middle of it, right?
Totally wild.
That close.
And they play AC/DC Thunderstruck. They've been doing that for about 4 years. The players run out, they salute the fans, and then they get into drills, and they have cones out there, and they've got speed work, and then they do some shooting drills and some passing and some like 3-on-3, 5-on-5 type stuff with possession. Normally the coach is still in the locker room. And every once in a while you would get the
Is that the version they play?
Exactly. They did the banjo rendition this time. I've never seen the coach out there. And he's out there with the players, talking to them, arm on the shoulder, pointing to things, clapping them on as they're doing their sprints. That was unique. And I don't know whether this is just something he's doing kind of temporarily because he's trying to get closer to them and instill some energy, or if this is just his style, or regardless, like I think the man management and his connection with the club and with the players and walking up to the curva and saluting them, them singing his name, like that was really cool. And so Anthony, to kind of get back to your comment, I'm the personal opinion, and I'd love to hear what Freddie and Zach think too, that if we get through, Farhad, you're hosting us, man.
I'm just kidding.
Nobody cares about his opinion.
Oh, boo you. I can
course we
mute you
do.
right now.
If we get to the end of these next 6 games and we get through the Champions League, and Tudor, I think if he does something meaningful at the Club World Cup and we see progression, we see energy, we see the right things from these players, I say go with him. I think and we can talk about Conte later, I'm sure, but I'd rather continue with Tudor personally. So my 2 cents there.
After 2 games, though,
I'm saying if after these 3 games, it's not enough. We need to see how the rest of the season finishes, how the players progress, what the style is like. And I think if he does get the opportunity to go through the Club World Cup, what that looks like as well, I would continue forward with it. 1, economically, I think it's going to be a good thing to us. 2, we've been very critical and vocal as fans and on this podcast about the Juve and Itad and just that like identity and getting that DNA back, which Malta certainly didn't have, or at least he wasn't capable of demonstrating that. Someone that's going to connect with the fans in a positive way. And he does have a style that is not identical to Malta, but I would say like adjacent to it, right? I mean, he wants to be more attacking, more proactive in the way that he drives his game. Yes, we've talked about how he's a bit more vertical, and not quite as like tiki-taka as what we saw with kind of the pointless possession we saw under Malta, but the styles are very similar and it wouldn't require an overhaul of a project. And a lot of the investments that we've made, we can continue to make. Bringing in somebody like a Conte who always wants to have command of his transfers and the players that he has, and he does have a different style, I think that just adds more risk and certainly kind of spits in the face of some of the investments we've made.
Interesting.
It's if I may respond to that, I'm in the same boat as Kev is. On the other hand, it just appeared to me that, well, didn't appear to me, but how mediocre we are. I mean, we kind of, or at least I did. I always shifted the blame on Mota, or at least a huge part of the blame. But now with this whole new energy, and you can see the benefits that, to me, Tudor brought into the team, to the squad, to the mentality, to the way that we play, which is awesome. But you can also see how limited some players are. And to me, it worries me a bit because we have a lot of question marks that we need to resolve. And I hope Tudor can continue and can get in sync with management, and it can make decisions based on not only benefits for the team as a whole, but also future-wise, like what are some of the players that we can build upon, which players can improve, which players can be useful in our system and the way that we play, and who's going to get the boot, because I think there's a lot of players that are now not as active participants as they were when Mota was in charge, but that doesn't change their qualities. So I think it's going to be a tough pickle this summer, and I hope Mota, Tudor gets a chance to prove himself, because I'm not a pro Conte man myself.
I'm sorry, but sometimes I don't believe Freddie is from Belgium, because the old timey sayings that we hear from him just crack me up. So you just said hunky dory and a sour
Yeah,
pickle.
yeah.
Are you
It's
from the
it's
1800s?
I am from the 1930s, and my first American sitcom I watched when I was a young lad was Lassie,
I Love
and I
Lucy.
think
Oh, okay.
no, Happy Days. Happy Days was
Okay.
a hit here, even like 2 decades after that. And
That's
no, I don't
Fonzie,
know.
right?
Fonzie, yeah,
Hey.
That's
that's
Fonzie,
Fonzie.
Yeah.
Fonzie.
Oh,
I
my
don't
God.
know.
Fantastic theme song, by the way. Happy Days was catchy as hell.
Yeah, true. I don't know why I use these prefixes and these, because I
I love it.
often, when I turn the podcast on in the car, I think, what the F did you just say, you
Hunky
dumb?
dory. Listen, man,
Yeah,
it's really hard. We're doing a live show. It's really hard to come up with phrases and whatever comes to mind. But I'm a huge fan of, first of all, his very first episode with us. He said he's a negative Nancy. So ever since then, I've been calling him Nancy.
yeah, true.
But speaking of 1930s, oh my God, you hit it right on the spot. When you do your segment, I have something special for. I know Zach will love the new drop. Speaking of Zach,
God help me.
well, let's get into the game, shall we? First of all, who can remember Lecce Juventus, the first result? I had to go back and look at the last time we played against Lecce. It felt like years ago, because it still mentions Mota and the poor. Of course, it was a draw.
It
I'll
had to
give
be
you
a
that.
draw. I was like, odds are that it was a draw.
It was a draw and a late equalizer from Ante Rebic. Yeah, I just had
Yep.
to look that up, and we're moving up. Speaking of American sitcoms, we're moving on.
when
moving on up.
Rebic came on in the second half, my friend turns to me and he goes, This fucking guy Rebic, every time he comes in, he always scores against us." And it's the same situation like Perisic from PSV, just one of these players that just like always
We should do a thread on Turin Giants Instagram of players that always show up against Juve. I think that would be an interesting one.
And
Like
he
you
he
said.
almost had the tying goal too. He
Even
had-
Vlau-
he,
if-
like
Even Vlahovic was our kryptonite when he played against us, right?
yeah,
He still is our
remember.
kryptonite.
listen,
He's still playing against us.
I will not accept Dusan slander when you put up 2 assists. Okay, so you can.
Okay, we're
you
taking
just
a break today.
Wait for another game. But as much as I've spoken against Dusan's contributions to the team. You put up 2 assists. You're tidy in possession. I don't think it's appropriate to criticize a guy who contributed to our 2 goals. So
Are we
pumping the
getting
brakes on
into
that.
No,
into
fair
this
play, fair
topic
play.
now, or do we ease into that?
No, let's go
No,
head
let's
first.
do the game. Let's do the game proper. Okay.
Well,
we're kind of slowly shifting into some aspects of it, but let's get into the game and then we can talk about this, Kevin, proper when we get to it.
All right.
I like
so,
it. Foreplay.
so-
Let's go.
So let's give a little shout out to on fotmob.com to the player with the most with the highest rating is Yildiz 8.8. I will talk about him. I have a article pulled up how he plays in the new system against Tudor, and we're certainly seeing the return of the star. No pun intended. But Yildiz was the highest earner. Kelly 7.0, De Gregorio 7.0. There was no one in the red. It was mostly green, and actually our boy Vlahovic. Let's give him a little Alessandro Del Piero with 8.7, just 0.1 below Yildiz. You guys agree? Who was your man of the match? Let's get into it. Finally, Juve Lecce 2-1. Let's talk about the game a little bit.
I think I'll just go first because it's
Yes,
so
sir.
that nobody steals mine. But I think I'm going to go with the easy one. I'm going to go with FotMob here with Yildiz. We talked about when Tudor took over that his gameplay, his tactics flow through the attacking midfielders, and so it was really going to finally put Yildiz in a position to show us that whether he was going to be the 10 of the future. And he has excelled wonderfully since Tudor's taken over. Yesterday, it's not yesterday. A couple days ago, was exhibited just that. His involvement all over the pitch in the passing game and his distribution in the build up to that beautiful second goal and with the finish, he did everything. He did everything right, in my opinion. And when you talk about this is touches inside the box, his big chances created, which was 7 or 8 chances created, which is just crazy. He's really shining, and he really capitalized with a beautiful goal, a beautiful team goal during the game. And so I think he rightfully got the highest score and is my man of the match.
I'm a piggyback on that. I'm sorry, I had to steal it. For me, it was also Kenan. And the reason why is because all the things that Zach just said, but also the fact that I really want to see Yildiz play within an exceptional team. So I hope that within a couple of months, we have a couple of players that quality-wise are a bit better than the ones that we have now. Because I feel in the game of football, if you have players that surround you that are evenly matched quality-wise to the things that you can do, or even better, then you very often get to excel and rise above yourself and give yourself 120%. So I'm very curious as to what Kenan can do if he's surrounded by people who are technically as skilled as he would be. Because I cannot imagine what he would create then offensively. I think if you have a couple of players that can, lead the way in terms of opening up the pitch a bit more and getting a bit more attacking play in on certain levels, I think then you get to see the real Kenan Yildiz and what he can do. So I'm rooting for that. I'm hoping that happens. I hope like that Douglas Luiz comes back and just plays the last 2 months as if he never left and as if he had just won the golden ball or whatever, because it would be very interesting to see those two link up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to mention something about Yildiz, and I said it in our WhatsApp thread and before the podcast here or during, I don't remember, but I want to ask Zach, going through the middle, and both goals came from us attacking through the mid. What do you think about this new style? Because I see Yildiz as one of those players that will just embarrass the defenders, go through any little hole that he can possibly find. Do you like us going through the middle? What changed now? And what do you see us in terms of, that going forward with under Tudor?
The new style should have been the old style. I mean, when Mota came in, that was what we
Mhm.
were promised: is build up play positively through the middle of the pitch, and that, as a matter of fact, creates more options in the middle. You have more of the pitch that you can operate with, and we spoke on this podcast over and over and over again, certainly earlier in the season when it was more surprising to us and why we were going to this wing play under Mota. Well, now fast forward to Tudor with the two attacking midfielders more centrally positioned than more of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 or inbounds 4-3-3 that Mota played. You're seeing more bodies forced into the middle of the pitch. And so I love the fact that we're finally seeing that
Mhm.
facilitation of the ball through the middle of the pitch. And that is because of Tudor's tactics, forcing more bodies in the middle, and that creates more options. And so it was really great to see that like that second goal is exactly what we've been missing all year.
Yeah.
Is a goal that wasn't just, hey, we won the ball and counterattacked effectively. We executed that goal exactly with what the coach wanted, with the players and everybody doing their job perfectly correct. And that we haven't seen a lot of that. And so I think that is the culmination of effective play through the middle, rewarding our team, rewarding all of those players, and rewarding, I think, for all of us, the viewers, with the promise of this team when they execute properly.
Yeah, if you guys want to see something beautiful, go check out numerous videos on YouTube, on Instagram, that show that goal in slow-mo. It was really good. Yildiz stretching for that touch just shows how important he is, how quick he is on his feet. So it was a
Yeah,
joy
that's
to
hard.
see.
That half step
Yeah.
return pass to Turin was beautiful. As well as the soft layoff from Dushan for for a second assist.
And you mentioned Turam, and certainly, I've made peace with him. We're friends. And going through the middle suits him so well. He's so powerful and soft touch. So
I think
we saw
also, Sorry, go ahead.
but we saw what he can do going through the middle during the goal. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Turam 2.0.
And I think that's what's so exciting and what is so positive about the Locatelli Turam kind of double pivot there, and the two of them playing together. And a shout out to sorry if I say this incorrectly, is that Yorio?
I know I've been struggling with that name as well. He needs to give us the
I think
pronunciation.
he's our Greek brother. I think it's Giorgo. I think he said it last time, if I remember correctly.
Really?
Okay.
True,
okay.
true,
Well,
true,
I
true.
sincerely
so. I think
apologize
if I
for
remember correctly.
the pronunciation hack, but I think from my perspective and what I saw, particularly, like as mentioned, you awesome, Giorgo, awesome. You pick up on the movement of the players and the team. I think better when you're higher up in the stadium, and you get a much different view than what you see on TV as well. And I've been, and I think you guys know at this point that I've generally have been very positive about Locatelli this season and his contribution, not just in Saturday's game, but throughout the season, has been very remarkable.
I have a very big testicles.
I think he has the most completed passes now in Serie A. He's third in terms of forward passes amongst all of Europe's top five leagues, I think, behind Kimmich and Xhaka, which is
91% accuracy. Is that what Zach sent us in the thread?
It was 91% for Saturday. I think he's like 89 or 90% on the season, but I mean, but still, it's just 2 points off. But everything goes through him, everything, and unless something gets one higher up the pitch and he's behind the play, everything goes through him. And he's not Andrea Pirlo, right? He does have his faults. He doesn't have as many assists or finishing off plays. He certainly doesn't score as much, but he also brings more to the defensive side to the game than someone like a Pirlo, who would depend on a Vidal or a Marquisio to do some of that dirty work. But and a takeaway should not be here, I'm trying to compare Locatelli to Pirlo, but I'm trying to compare a role of someone who has to be the metronome, who is linking the defense to the midfield, and he's moving much more forward than he ever did under Allegri, which was one of the biggest criticisms of him, is that he never went forward. Everything was sideways or backwards, and he has really turned that around this season. But back to the point of the Locatelli-Thuram combination, is that you have Locatelli orchestrating and that connection and that safety net anytime that something's not going right, being able to find him, and he's able to dish it out and get the play started again. But Thuram's speed and the way that he can just get it, go heads down and go.
Mm-hmm.
That connection between like Locatelli bringing it out of the back and finding him to just burst forward. And I forget if it was the first or the second goal on how the play started. One of the two definitely started with Locatelli picking it up out of the defense right around. It was the second one, and that's what started Thuram's run.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he eventually just that amazing sequence of one-touch passes leading up to the shot. But that was, I think, that exemplifies, I think, the combination of what Tudor wants to instill into this team, but I think how that the center of the park for us can work really well to make this play out.
Well, I was gonna actually say Locatelli was my player of the match, but Kevin, because we were texting about him, I figured you would. So at least
he's my player of the match for sure.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not going to deny Yildiz's impact on the game, and he is so fun to watch. But the stats that we were sharing with each other: 136 touches, 90% completed passes, 117 passes. I forget. I don't have the stats up.
27 passes into the final third, 11
That's
of 15
insane.
a long ball, which is 75% accuracy for long ball. It's just crazy from his distribution. Of course, he does a lot of hard work, like you said, on the defensive front. He was just, I mean, you don't see those types of passing numbers even on your best days. It was just crazy to see 140 something touches. So yeah, all credit to him.
Yeah.
Well, since this is a redemption season for a lot of the players, how about
Machine Robocop? Pop, 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 pop.
Did we expect him to score in the second minute? Was that awesome? I don't think he
was not on my bingo card for the match.
I think he was shocked himself, but it's good to see him. And there's actually an article on juvefc.com that gives us some interesting data on Koopmeiners is improving, speed, and he. Anyways, go read the article. Soares explains the former Atalanta star recorded the fastest sprint during the contest, which was 27.8 kilometers an hour, and then Kelly, defender, putting out numbers too, 27.7 kilometers an hour, and Vlahovic with the sprint. I actually remember which one it was. It was 27.4 kilometers an hour. Not much to go to go after, but I think the article, the author of the article is just happy that Koopmeiners is in the positive again. So hopefully we'll see. We certainly need the whole team to step up for the rest of the season. So hopefully we see little improvements from everyone like this. And I don't remember who mentioned Douglas Luiz. Right now would be the perfect time for him to come back and step up.
Well, I think we have to accept that Coop isn't going anywhere. Like we need him to get better. I was surprised that he was starting again, honestly, because I thought Thuram was going to bench him and put him on this not Thuram. Tudor was going to put him on this kind of individual routine and fitness and get back. But I mean, I always thought that we were under Tudor now. He was going to kind of not take a leading role, get some confidence back, come in off the bench, work on his fitness, maybe take the Club World Cup to shine and get like a fresh, go bury his head in the sand somewhere, get a couple days of holiday and come back refreshed for the new season. Because I don't know. It looks like Freddie, you want to say something?
Before Freddie speaks, can I give a shout out to Calcio with Reno Z? Just subscribed. Boys, great live. Welcome everyone. We're so happy to chat with you. Freddie, your turn, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had to interrupt a bit because
You're
there's
part of
some
the
offers.
podcast. You're not interrupting anything. you're
No,
literally a part of it.
I always feel bad when I have to like intrude on Kevin or Zach.
Oh my god.
Not so much with you, Far, because but
boo.
no. There are some offers on the table for koopmijners. Some serious offers, and there's one in
Hold
particular.
on. Is this a scoop?
I think it is. I don't know if it is.
I mean, Freddie has been giving us inside scoops from the secret source, so I know Zach will love this. Here we go. You have a new drop.
And now, Freddie Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
That's actually pretty funny, and it goes.
Thank
with
you. Yes.
It goes with Frederick's like 1930s.
That's right. That's why I was so excited.
Freddie with the scoop, see?
Freddie's the correspondent is chewing on a cigar and has a fedora on.
And now,
I need
Freddie
a
Scoops
fedora
with
now.
the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
I need a fedora. I want a Turin Giants fedora. I demand one for next season.
Oh my god, you'll
That's
be the only
least you
one.
could do.
You already
No,
have
but-
you're already chain smoking, so that part is covered.
Yeah, but I mean, but it needs to have the whole picture. But
I love it.
no,
All right,
there's some
Freddie
offers
Scoops,
on
let's
the
go.
table. One particularly that caught you.
I already forgot who we were talking about. Who are you mentioning? I apologize.
Koopmijners.
Yes.
So Ajax of all clubs wants to get him on a loan, a straightforward loan, and yeah, let's say that you were interested to do so. So
Straightforward loan would be absolutely stupid.
yeah,
Like that doesn't help us at all.
there's another option on the table, which includes Tonali. And would be a swap between Koopmijners and Tonali, but Juventus will have to fork out a surplus of, I thought it was, let me check, 25 to 35 million.
Makes no sense. Move on.
That's so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but these are two offers that have been brought forward by managers around.
Neither of those make sense to me.
This does make sense. So this goes back to Coop's not going anywhere.
This has been.
And now, Freddie Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the
Who
business.
said I was
see?
done?
Oh, you're not done. All right.
You just want every excuse you can get to play
Yes.
that tune. I get you. I get you. No, another, well, I don't know if we can call it a scoop or whatever, but management and Alkan have been pretty much surprised by how Tudor handled the squad. And for some reason, they were in contact with Antonio Conte for, I don't know, like throughout the whole season, starting January. And they haven't been in touch since a week or so. So I don't know if that's something that's I don't know. Maybe it's
that's a
just a
perfect
coincidence.
Segue to a question we got, right? There were several questions earlier on of Conte or Tudor. So I think we can, and I forgot who asked the question originally, but that was several folks mentioned Conte in their chat before. I think we open it up. I think Frederick, you said you were not a huge Conte fan, and I would second that simply because while Tudor is a kind of an unknown of what he's going to do at Juventus over the next couple of months, Conte is well established. You know exactly how that'll go. He'll come in like a tornado. The team will start winning, and then soon, whether it's 3 months into his tenure or a year into his tenure, it's all going to go up in flames and explode brilliantly in a horrible dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And I don't want to invite that inevitable destruction, self-destruction upon ourselves again. You see this year in Napoli, they started off in 2 competitions and they started off hot, but they've burnt themselves out. It was 6 months into the season, less than 6 months into the season with no other competitions. I mean, I think they lost in the quarterfinals or even before in the Copa. So they've had no competitions. They can't even pull it together. I don't want to invite that chaos to us. I want to think of a little bit long term. So I think if our choices are just Tudor and Conte, I think it's Tudor's job to lose.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I also feel that it's a bit of Conte's MO as well. He kind of squeezes players out like lemons to the point
He's a
where he
mercenary.
can't squeeze any longer.
Yeah,
and
he's a mercenary.
yeah,
And this
also
team,
that.
let's be clear, this team, we've talked about it, how fragile they've been at times mentally, and you can see it on the pitch under Mota. Do you think a guy like Conte, who is willingly throws his players under the bus, is going to be the guy who's going to lead this group of players to success? I don't think that's also a successful marriage. And so I would love the Conte rumors to stop and us to, again, with just the two options, it's Tudor's job to lose, or if not Tudor, we look elsewhere.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Mm-mm.
Someone called him cancer in the comments as well. I kind of agree.
Wait. This is the first time in the history of, that I've been here that we all agree on something. So we all don't want Conte back.
No, but if we're talking long term, such a wrong choice. Like Zach mentioned,
We need stability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tudor, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's still too early. I really wish him success. He's a likable guy. He's certainly worked hard, and you never know. I mentioned last time how Juve finally needs a little bit of luck because I think a cycle of bad results has to come to an end soon. You know how we were dominant for 9 years, and I feel like we've let others win enough, and now it's time to come back. And I really, really hope, just stroke of luck, that Tudor is our guy finally.
I like his straightforwardness, because when you compare it with Conte always gives those silent jabs out, whether it be it towards his management, towards his player, but he also protects himself by saying, yeah, but they didn't buy me that player, or this player is underperforming, so it's not really my fault. Whereas Motta couldn't see if a player was underperforming. He was always like, no, Koopman is playing great. I don't know what the issue is. But like Tudor came out and said, like, I didn't like the way my subs handled their playing time. And that's something that needs to be discussed and addressed, because this is not something that I appreciate. And I like that straightforwardness. Like, he comes out, and I'm pretty sure he told the players as well, right to their face, that he didn't appreciate that. But he also just made it a non-issue in the media and said, well, I didn't like that. I chose to give those people X amount of playing time, and this is what they've done with it. And I can't agree with that, and I don't accept that. So let's tackle that issue and remedy that. And I kind of like that. I mean, it's just straight to the point, straightforward, no bullshit. Let's go.
And I think that's a good segue back to the game, because we segued off on the Conte Tudor thing, but you touched on a couple things. First and foremost, on the substitutions, we have to talk about the second half. And this is not just a thing that we saw with Lecce. It's something we've seen in every game so far with Tudor. Granted, sample size is small, but this is still a flawed team, whether that's because of the players, you kind of mentioned, Frederick, or whether Tudor has still not solved something with these players. I mean, if you look at the second half stats against Lecce, a terrible team by pretty much every metric. They had all the scoring opportunities in the second half, despite still having 30% possession. They had over 11 shots. They scored their goal, which was deserved. Almost got another one. This team is still doing the same thing that we saw all year, which is exposing themselves to scoring opportunities for teams that they should have been long done and dusted. They invite them back into the game. And the way we look at it with Tudor, the way we're doing it is different under Tudor. But the end result is still the same, that we're giving these opportunities that should never happen against clubs that are not on the same level as Juventus. We're giving them that opportunity to come back into the game. I mean, we can talk, and I think a lot of us would agree that fitness has something to do with it. But you touched on another thing, Frederic, is the Tudor, and he's been criticized on this. The subs under him have also not had the impact that they need to have to bring that added security, to bring that added energy, to bring whatever that is missing in our team to secure the result, whether it be the Genoa or Lecce game, or to get the win, which obviously didn't happen against Roma. Kevin, you were at the stadium. Did the stadium feel like there was any that this game was slipping away as in those dying minutes based on how this team was playing and the lack of impact the subs were having?
In the dying minutes, yes, like it was white knuckling. I mean, obviously after that goal came in off of the free kick, and we should talk about our complete lack of effectiveness on free kicks, both taking them and defending them. But after that was scored, it was white knuckling all the way until the end. And I really thought when that cross kind of came in, and I think it hit like Rebic's heel and flashed across the face of goal. From where I was seated, I thought that was going in, and thank God it didn't. And we were walking away and talking about a victory and not another blown.
Oh, that'd be a different podcast today if it was 1-1.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, that would not have been good.
But there was a moment in the second half, and I don't know if this got picked up on TV, and it's something I wanted to talk about, was a moment that happened with Weah in the second half. And I forget what minute and how long after he came on, but along the touch line, relatively maybe within 20 yards of where Tudor was in our own half, he got hit. There was some kind of collision and he went down, and the play continued to build up and move forward, and he was still down. And Tudor turned to him. So I imagine this wasn't on TV, because I imagine the camera would have kept going with the play. And you could see he was saying something to Weah. And I have no clue what he actually said. I imagine he was asking, like, are you hurt? Because he was still down and the play was still developing. And whatever Weah said to it, Tudor got mad. And he started like pointing at him, pointing to like run up towards, like, get up, keep playing if you're not hurt. And again, like, I don't know exactly what was said, but if I had to guess, he was asking, are you injured? Are you hurt? And Weah said no. And he said, what the fuck are you doing? Get up and run. Right. And like right after a few seconds went by, and he did kind of get up, straighten himself out and start jogging. And he yelled at him again to start sprinting. So that was,
that's good to see.
Interesting.
Weah's had a very good season for us. I think in a lot of ways dispelled some of my concerns and hesitations about him. But I think it's not bold or too bold for me to say that he did not have a good appearance when he came in the 67th minute. It
wasn't good. He's had a decent season. It was definitely better than last season and had scored some important goals. But Saturday was not his day.
He looked a little bit to me like he was either trying too hard. He kind of looked like a chicken with his head cut off at times. He was kind of running around a little haphazard, not composed, not organized. And I think what you said or described, Kevin, kind of fits in with my review of his performance. It just didn't seem composed. He didn't look like he came on with the right mindset. You're up 2-0 at the time when he came on. You play with composure. You play with patience. You don't come in and start running around, frantically. And he lost the ball a lot, also exposing your team to counterattacks. Like that's how the other team gets into the game. So I think definitely if we were to highlight,
can you demonstrate how he runs again? If you guys are watching the video, sure.
That's my frantic motion.
If we mix that with my cue, if we mix it with my sound bite, like, it would be.
He runs like this, she. I think he of the subs, he's the one who I really was disappointed in most You had Cambiaso, Chico, Savona, Rilile, and Colomwani. I think Weah was the one who stood out to me most.
There were some colorful things said in my section directed at Colomwani, which I will not repeat on this podcast, but especially when he lost the ball that started a counterattack with just a couple minutes left, and not racist thing. So I'm not.
I was just
going
gonna
in
say.
that direction. No. It was more. I mean, colorful things and calling him like a French something. But no, there was not racism. But
By the way, Kevin, did you have any of the sandwiches that the Lecce fans were making on the side at the stadium?
I saw that afterwards. That's hysterical.
Italian stadiums sometimes with the food, because it's from what I read, it's allowed. And like literally, if you do a Google search, there's, at Napoli, if you see those videos from the stadium,
they're eating like fresh
pouring
mozzarella like it's an apple.
Yeah, they're pouring wine from bags, and man, I would love to catch that. I would love to see that.
But Colomwani got no love.
No.
love.
Was he worse though? Was he worse in your opinion than Weah? I mean, not to intend a dogpile on our subs. I think we agree that they did not have a good impact. I thought Weah stood out to me as having a poor performance. You both, it seems like, think Colomwani was worse.
Yeah. I think Weah's performance was a bit unlucky. He got into the game, but he didn't find. He was unable to find his feet, like on that position and in the game. And it wasn't because of a lack of trying, because I think he, honest to God, he did try to get, into the game. Whereas I had the feeling that Colomwani was just like, I really don't care. Like,
well, he's in a pretty bad situation right now because he knows his parent club does not have a place for him, and PSG is firing in all cylinders and looking like one of the better teams in Europe right now. He came to this club, had a breath of fresh air, had the hottest possible start he could imagine. The coach that wanted him here is gone. They know from a financial perspective, they're not going to execute on this loan. He's just like he's in no man's land.
But that's just the thing, and this circles back to what Zach and I've been saying like the whole season. We have an unbalanced team, and that's the fact. You can't escape that. But if you come in as a new player and you, by all means, have this desire to prove yourself, you should lower your financial standards as well.
Well, he can't lower, like if PSG wants a certain amount for him, that's not in his control. Like you could throw a tantrum as a player, but that signals something. I mean, if you talk about wage bill, that's different, but he's got very little control over PSG.
The wage bill is what impacts most on our balance sheet, to be honest, because you tend to get a contract worth 3-4 seasons. If you ask 10-12 million net, that's 24-25 million gross times 3-4 seasons. I mean, that's a hefty investment.
You're never getting there. He's $100 million player. In order for PSG to even break even on him, we would have to be paying awesome in dollars. And so it's not.
No, but
I just don't think that's not possible.
I know for a fact his manager was, I think 2 weeks ago, was in Turin. And they had a talk, and his manager said, well, I'm not going to propose PSG another loan year. We don't want that. We want to stay here. We want some stability. And the Juve management outright said, well, we can't offer that. We can't pay his wage bill or the demands that he has right now and the transfer fee. So that's off the table. And, it coincided with Motta's exit and the fact that Colomwani started, underperforming. So these are all.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird. It's weird. You say underperforming. You got a new coach in who said we're going to stick with this guy. None of us, zero of us on the podcast, felt it was appropriate for Dusan to be starting. We said you're out of every competition. Start your best 11. Not one of us put Vlahovic in our best 11, and so like to some extent, if I'm Colomwani. And maybe this is an immature take, from a personal standpoint, but I'm looking at them starting this guy. I'm like, I'm so much better than that guy. We talked about in the first game about all the long balls into the channel that Dusan just did a horrible job of against Genoa. You talked about how his sub was way too late against Roma to have any impact. certainly the team was gassed in the second half. If I'm Colomani, I'm like, give me a chance. Now, that's no excuse for being lazy when you do come in, but it was strange for all of us. So I don't think it's an unreasonable say that he's maybe got some question marks like, where do I fit in this team? I've outplayed the competition. Why am I on the bench?
Of course, but I also think we need to look at this from a financial state, and I know for a fact that Tudor loves Dusan as a player, but also the fact if he can get his spirits lifted and he can make Dusan perform much better than he did, then we have a good chance of offloading him at the end of the season for a decent amount. Whereas
does Freddie Scoops hear anything about Vlahovic and his potential
yeah,
destination?
It's still like Premier League oriented, and he's very unhappy at this point, especially after Saturday. I think you guys could tell as well after his reaction on a substitution, which I found very childish because he's got Tudor on his side and giving him the benefit of the doubt, and then reacting like that the way he did during his substitution, I found a bit childish, as I did find Chico's reaction on Instagram childish, but that's another discussion.
Yeah.
Tell us about, we haven't mentioned that. Tell us the story that was posted on Instagram.
Well, the story
someday they will know the whole story or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's embellishing a bit. I think Juventus just backtracked on. Let's start at the beginning. Motta was a big fan, a Conceição fan, and he wanted Conceição to stay in order to get that move in. We made some sort of agreement with Porto, with the loan, with the salary, and the option to buy. And at some point, after all the injuries, Juve started backtracking because a deal would have been finalized already in January. But Juventus kept stalling, and because they were very reluctant and they didn't know what to do with Motta as well back then. And now that Motta's gone, basically management communicated that the chances of him being a Juventus player are very slim to non-existent. And yeah, Conceição hates that. He thinks that Juve didn't, honor their word or whatever. But yeah, this is just business. It's still a 32 million euro deal that we're talking about. So I don't know, but it's the cryptic message on Instagram. I hate this kind of bullshit. Go out on the field and prove your worth. And he's been, lacking since November, in my opinion. Doesn't deserve that transfer.
Cryptic messages are so like 2015, 16, right? A couple of things here.
Yeah.
MF, ciao, welcome. People are kind of coming in and out, but we are, plugging along. We will have, like I mentioned, more of these YouTube lives, and thank you all for joining us. It's hard to keep up with our friend Giorgio, but he's saying here that in Greece they have grills at the stadium, at PAOK Stadium. I love it. Actually, there was a question from Marco. He was a guest on one of our podcasts. That was a question for Kevin on Instagram. I kind of answered it because I feel like that was appropriate, but he was asking if the pregame atmosphere at the stadium, does it come close to anywhere in the US? As far as
in terms of
pregame activities
stuff,
and tailgating, yes.
No, it's really not. It's fun. I mean, my kind of personal ritual that I've kind of always done is somewhere in the city with friends, and then also it used to be organized by our dear friend Maurizio from around Turin, but he's not really doing it anymore. But meeting with fans, and now I just meet with friends somewhere in the center, have a drink, have something to eat, and then make our way to the stadium, either with public transportation, or if someone happens to be driving, we kind of bum a ride. And we get there, I don't know, maybe about 2.5 hours early.
Oh, wow.
And they, like, around the stadium, there's a bunch of food trucks, and it's very traditional. have kind of these grilled sandwiches. So they do have open
Panini.
grills, and there's like sauce. Yeah, they make the panini, and there's a lot of like sausage that
Bet
they'll
there is.
grill. And yeah, we just have a couple beers and have some drinks before going in, and depending on what the lines look like, and it's pretty well organized at the Allianz compared to other stadiums throughout Italy specifically. Once you get in line, you can be in your seat within 15 minutes. So typically want to be in the seat, I don't know, somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour before kickoff, so you can see the team come in and properly warm up. But if you're talking about like US like tailgating experience for NFL or like college football games, no.
What I want to do when Freddie comes to visit us in the US of A, I want to take him to a proper. I've been this last year. I went to Kansas City with my wife for an NFL game. The tailgate, as they say, European mind cannot comprehend that. They have trailers that are just barbecue pits on their own, and there's just, even during the game, the stadium has that haze, the smoke that from the barbecue pits. They're there 8 hours. Some people are 12 hours before the game. Some people don't even go into the game. They have televisions inside their trailers and
it's
their
just
trucks.
about the tailgate.
Unbelievable.
No, that's a foreign concept.
So what's the opposite of that? That's what they do in Europe. As they do in Europe, everything is smaller, more quaint, more organized. But yeah, it's a
well, I was angry because after the match, and if anybody ever finds themselves in Turin, there's a bar called Oscar Wilde. And it's pub food, and they do this like special kind of pizza that's super, super thin crust. And it's huge, but you order one for yourself and it's like this big, and you can eat the whole thing because it's super thin. And they're normally open until midnight. But they're like a Juve supporting club.
I think I've been there.
Yeah, and there's like Juve jerseys everywhere, and there's like crazy weird like caricatures of like Buffon and Del Piero all over the pub. And we got there like 20 minutes before they closed, and they just said, we're done. So we got back in the city at like midnight trying to find something to eat. But that would have been the perfect way to close off that evening. But
we should do a YouTube special on food in Turin, and
I'd love it.
Kevin is a foodie, and he's certainly done enough of traveling throughout Italy that he can tell us stuff. And
Jorgo, quickly on the tailgating.
Are we all pronouncing it all differently?
Yes. He is saying that he went to a baseball game in the United States and it was pretty boring. Well, if you want to go for tailgating, like party, like high energy atmosphere, baseball is the wrong sport to do it.
People don't show up till like third inning.
Yeah,
fourth inning.
It's where you go to relax, kick your feet up and have a beer. The American football, definitely in the South. Like, it's Farhad said Kansas City, but like down here in Texas, it's crazy. And the college sports scene does a really good job on pregame stuff.
Yes, sir. Yeah, food is a very important part. Why do you think the games in America are over 3 hours? It's you get hungry. It's a ploy to sell you food. Come on, let's not kid each other.
I just need to see an NBA game in real life before I die.
We went to a Bulls last year. It was so fun. It's like the biggest comeback in Bulls history, down from like 30. It was super fun. Plus, United Center is awesome with this Jordan statue. So if any of you are visiting Chicago, let me know. That includes the listeners. I'll give you a few pointers. Maybe we'll hang out.
Nice. I have a small anecdote, if I may, about Juventus and the whole thing. Well, when I went to see Juventus in the 2006 season in Serie B, I bought a watch in Turin, and it's a Tudor. I don't know if you can. Fucking hell. It's a Tudor, and I had I'm a watch guy myself, but I didn't put it on after that season anymore. I don't know why. And when Tudor got appointed, I said, well, I'm going to wear it again until, it's kind of like, I don't know how to call it. Maybe it's some superstition or whatever. But I said, I'm not going to take it off until we mathematically achieve fourth place. So I have a watch that's named after our coach, and it's going to help us get to fourth place.
I
So
love
I'm a
it.
bit
Well,
more
love it.
optimistic about our fourth place
that's a
position.
fantastic segue because I wanted to go through the top five. Inter, currently number one, probably will be taking that Scudetto. 71 points, 65 Napoli, 61 Atalanta, Juventus 59, Bologna 57. Juventus were in third place for a hot minute there, but um, Atalanta taketh away. But again, they won against Bologna, which means I'd rather keep the top four than go up further, right?
And I don't ever want to rely on other teams, especially when our future is now in our control once again, which is nice. But but we got some fortunate max fixtures this week. Atlanta, Bologna. We knew we were top four, right? Regardless of what that result was, we knew we were going to be top four. Next week, you have Inter, Bologna, AC Milan against Atalanta. So certainly the Inter Bologna one, if we're able to win our game and Inter wins, that means we are clear. We know Bologna, as it said in the chat, has a tough schedule. We know Roma also has a tough schedule. We know Atalanta has a tough schedule. So we are in control of our destiny, but we might also get some assistance just based on the tough schedules the teams around us have.
Do you guys remember that little period where Frederick believed we could win the Scudetto? And it was
It was like 3 days.
Not even that. I think 3 hours or whatever. I don't know.
It took us so long to convince him, but then it was 0-7 on aggregate.
If memory serves me correct, I believe I was saying back in the day, like a couple of months ago, I said we will not get fourth place with Mota. And I was right because Mota's gone.
He's like Conte. He's changing his words now. He's our Conte.
No. You can scroll back. I think it was episode 250. No, I can't remember, but I did. I was convinced, and I still am convinced that if Mota was still
we
here,
all kind of believed, but then that Atalanta game happened, and we gave up that dream. Should I read Tudor's? I know we didn't bring up his. I was just able to find his interview post game. The result was fair. It was let's see. It was a great first half performance, second half, and a bit of struggle in the closing stages. But if we had scored 2 more goals in the first half, the game would have been already put to bed. Coop Miners, I can see that he's emerging from a tough period. He's quick in his thinking. He's moving with more fluidity as a result. I'm happy with him. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry that some players are playing less. It's my job to make the choices. The Dusan Vlahovic, finally, he says, is at the center of the project, which is interesting. But so are the lads. So are all the lads. We had a good match and in all aspects. He just lacked the goal. League table, we'll look at it on the last day. So, Juve Lecce in the books now, 1-1. We went through the top 5. I think top 4 is a huge possibility at this point.
Yeah, Parma, Monza coming up. I think while other people are playing much tougher competition, we need to do the professional job, win those 2 games, and we might find ourselves with a little bit of cushion, so that when we do go to Rome to play Lazio and when we go to Bologna to play them, we'll have some flex room in case we the opportunities we're still giving up, certainly in the second halves. In case they bite us in the butt, we'll hopefully have the cushion by then.
So Parma are in 16th right now, and Monza are in 20th. So that should give you a little bit of...
And they bleed goals.
But when could we qualify mathematically for fourth? Is it within these 2 games or...
No, we can't mathematically qualify in these 2 games because we're only 2 points clear of Bologna, and if they win their 2 games, then it could theoretically go down to the literal last day. It depends on what they do. Now, I guess my point is while our focus is predominant on Juventus fixtures, pay close attention to the fixtures around us in the next couple of weeks, because depending on what Bologna do against Inter, for instance, next weekend, we could have a cushion. Or not only could Bologna win to put pressure on us, but that would put a really interesting spin on the Scudetto race as well, eliminating Inter's cushion against Napoli. So there's the Serie A season with both Juventus as well as what the entire table is really coming to a head and is really exciting. And so as much as we're kind of on edge about where Juventus is going to end up, I'm really kind of excited to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Yeah, I think we need 20 points. I think, like, we've got 6 matches left with the teams that we're playing. I think if we do 4 wins and 2 draws,
are you still thinking Scudetto?
Good. No, no,
We-
no. But I mean, we've got Parma and Monza coming up. That has to be 6 points. Like this Lecce
Has to
Parma Monza thing, like, had to be 9 guaranteed points, while some of these other teams are playing more difficult fixtures. Then I think we have, I'm not looking at it now, but I think we have the Lazio fixture. And then there's Udinese. We finish with Venezia. Bologna's in there somewhere. But if you draw with Lazio and Bologna and you win those other ones, we're fine.
Guaranteed.
That 20 points will be enough.
The one thing to keep in mind is, despite where Parma is on the table and despite them bleeding goals, is they are the team right behind us in most draws. And so that is a fixture.
Look at what they did to Inter 2 weeks ago. Look at what they did to Inter 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I guess the point is to measure the fact that it should be 6 points against Monza and Parma. We're going to Parma. They are extremely competent on their day. They've shown the ability to play with and draw the big boys. And so the team, Tudor has to have this team thinking professionally. There are no easy games, and you got to go in with the right mindset, and you can't let up. The second halves we've seen under Tudor have been scary because of the fact that it's so clear that the team lacks energy to create anything. And if you go in up maybe 1 goal or even tied at half, this team hasn't showed under Tudor that they have the creativity and the energy in the second half to make a difference. And so they have to be taken, our opponents, regardless of stature, have to be taken seriously to ensure that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and undo the hard work that we've done to once again solidify ourselves in 4th place.
Well, the points that we were allowed to drop were the 2 points against Roma last week. So we're basically not allowed to drop any more points. A couple more things before we say goodbye to you all really quickly. There's some, another 1930s expression, brouhaha, around Fagioli, which is a shame. He came out defending himself because there was some report that came out and detailed just how bad his gambling addiction was. There was some story about him just reselling Rolexes, and it was just dragging him through the dirt. Young man who paid for his crimes, certainly. So
did you see the thing from his? I forget who the player was. One of his ex-teammates from where was he before? Not Cremonese. Where was he when he went on loan?
I thought it was Cremonese.
Was it Cremonese? Yeah, okay.
I was going to say, like, where else was he?
Yeah, no, you're right. Cremonese. I guess he was messaging one of these players to help with the money, to buy some of these watches that he could get back at a better price. And the guy essentially said to him, "You're already in so much debt, yet you're going into debt with like all these other people to help pay off your debt. How stupid are you?"
Yeah, that's crazy. Read the story.
You can't say that the guy didn't go all in. I mean, the guy went all in properly. Like, no fucks were given.
I think, though, one thing that drives me cuckoo is because there's this report that 12 more players are being investigated for betting and stuff, but you're watching the match, and you've got like 1xBet over there. You've got Caliente.mx, which is an online casino. I mean, there's just betting sponsors all over the place. And then they put restrictions on, look, an adult, but a young adult, and expect people to I think it's just sending super mixed messages. The league is sending super mixed
Yeah,
messages.
it's
super
hypocritical. Super
Yeah.
hypocritical. Yeah,
And so I
agree.
don't really. I wish betting. I wish the betting sponsors were gone.
Yeah.
We
And
don't need the future generation to be even more just
No, I mean,
bombarded with dopamine. Now we have
but
betting going on.
the thing is as well, we are prohibited to have a shirt sponsor that's involved with cryptocurrency because we have theater
Good.
that wants to sponsor us, but that's not allowed because they're a crypto wallet. But on the other hand, you could see the place from Lecce parading about with gambling sites as shirt sponsors, and I find that really hypocritical, to be honest. But on a side note, and I'm sorry to hijack Farhad,
No, you're good, man.
we made 5 million today on the sale of Muaremovic,
That's right.
who was officially bought by Sassuolo because they went up. So we can pay out our good friend Mota now without a recapitalization. And another interesting thing is for next season, Allegri seems to be really persuaded by Roma to be their head coach, whereas Allegri was first choice at Milan, who now are opting for Thiago
I thought I
Motta,
saw
which
that
is
Roma was
also
all in on Pioli. Was that
no,
was
no,
that
no.
rumor?
It's
Yeah.
latest rumors suggest that they're all in on Allegri, and Allegri is very pleased and wants to coach Roma, as it would seem. But the thing is, if our good friend Thiago Motta decides to coach Milan,
Is he our good friend? Did I
he's
miss
my
something?
especially now that he's gone, he's one of my dearest ones. But if he decides to coach Milan, it means we don't have to pay out his clause, which would save us another 10 million, which would come in handy for other players that we need to buy.
I don't know. I'm reading the comments here. Giorgio, he is all in on Ancelotti to Juve. He said that he's going to be free next season, and then he followed up with another comment that he's coming to Juve. Maybe we got a new Scoops guy, huh? Maybe he knows.
Come on,
Isn't he
drop the
going- isn't he going
soundbite.
to
Drop the
Brazil?
soundbite. Drop
Yeah.
the soundbite.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
you know have to give me another reason to play Mr. Freddy Scoops.
And now, Freddy Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
I need a fedora. But I wouldn't want Ancelotti, to be honest. I mean,
No.
we had a bad experience. I hate the fact that we keep regurgitating players or coaches like, let's get some new insights, let's get a new coach, let's maybe get somebody who's not familiar with Serie A or whatever. Let's just try something new.
Ancelotti is not going to go from Real Madrid to Juventus. Let's be honest. He has a Brazil job kind of waiting for him. That's been a talk for a long time.
Yeah,
So,
but you could say the same about Zidane as well with the French national team. I don't think that's a valid point. I think what we need to do now is focus on a coach that we know that can make our team better and who can, have a sporting role as well outside of the coaching factor, who can be a bit decisive about transfers or have a good input on transfers, outgoing and incoming as well.
I still stick by Del Neri. Bring Del Neri back. All right. Discussed Fagioli. And one last thing I want to bring.
We didn't talk about Vlahovic though. Are
Credits
we?
to Susan. Credits to Susan. Susan did well.
Susan Vlahovic.
Yeah, for the you whenever Freddie texts us about Dushan, it autocorrects to Susan. So Susan is all over our Turin.
Yeah, autocorrected. All right, if Kevin brought him up, all right, let's talk about Vlahovic.
and I know we
kind of gave him
this.
we gave him a pass, but let's talk about the horrific stuff that happened. I mean, we held on for an hour and a half, but damn it, we just can't.
It's. I have a new. So, like, if we go all the way back to the first episode of this season, Zach, when I think it was either your first or second, and you asked whether Dusan was going to be our biggest liability, and I think, understood the question, but passionately against it because I did think like as the year ended, and especially the leadership and the passion we saw in the Coppa Italia final, that I think I even suggested that at some point he could take on the captain's armband, because it, like, with the confidence, it's something that when he's doing well and he's confident, he does lift the rest of the team. But the thing is, he only does it now like once every 8 games at best. But now fast forward to where we are now, seeing him at the stadium gave me an entirely new level of frustration for what he brings to the team. And
The frustration
and
you
again, like,
didn't know
I'm
you
going to
had.
do this. I'm going to say this, make this comment, right? Where, like, both things can be true. Both things can be true, that he was great on his assists and the one touch passing, and he had a great vision to find Koop Miners. He laid that off incredibly well for Yildiz. Excellent. But the rest was shit. It's his hesitancy when he has an opportunity. I don't know if he has the yips or he's overthinking things. He doesn't have the confidence. But even beyond,
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
And there's a lot of shit right now. And you look at his off the ball movement specifically was mind boggling.
Very robotic.
There was this period. And again, like I sometimes I don't know what the television allows you to see or not, but what was very clear, there was a portion towards the end of the first half, and there was this buildup in the midfield moving forward. And Dusan was on the touchline by the bench where Lecce was, but a little bit closer, more towards the corner flag, just hanging on the touchline. And I think Nico was close to him. So it's not like he was trying to occupy space that was open. There were other Juve players there and no one in the middle. And there was a time, I think, where like Locatelli or Thuram was coming up with the ball, like looking more centrally, and nobody's there. And Dusan's almost standing there with like his hands on his hips. And it's this lack of understanding of knowing where he needs to be. And I don't know how much of that is on the coach. I have to imagine over the last 3 years, between like what he's seen with Allegri, what has gone on with Malta, and the limited coaching he's had under Tudor, that he's received this instruction. And he's been playing this game probably since he was 3 years old, right? And as a forward should know where to occupy space and where to go. And I was just so perplexed on the decisions he was making off the ball. And it made no sense to me at all. And you could hear during that exact moment, you look around, there are so many fans pointing to him saying like, "Ma che cazzo fai?" It just like, what are you doing? So I just
on the flip side, and this goes back to something I said a couple episodes ago, is whenever we're applauding Dusan, are we simply just applauding what he should have been doing anyways? And it's but if you talk about his off the ball movement, I would argue that over the last 3 games, it has been infinitely better than the whole season, because there was no off the ball movement to date for the most part. At least he was showing for the ball. I mean, he would end games under Mota 5 passes, 7 attempted, 9 touches. That would be his entire game. At least now, what was he, 16 for 19 with 30-something touches, 2 assists, and an absolutely horrible shot attempt at the top of the 6-yard box. Like, that was his, like that's an improvement, like a noticeable improvement. So if you go back to my question and say, is he been a liability for us with all the draws we've had where he's been playing? The answer to me is absolutely yes. But he was noticeably better than his average performance against Lecce. Issues acknowledged, but he at least has been better. And what just a serviceable, and this goes back to our Colomani point, a serviceable striker, all of a sudden we look so much better. Also begs the question of why don't we see a guy, Colomani, who's just got a much better kit available to him in terms of his skill set.
But I think it's fair to say that we can agree that, I mean, if we picture ourselves as a strong team, as Juventus on the rise, maybe even competing for the Scudetto, competing for Champions League or whatever, then Dusan Vlahovic is not the striker that we need at that point to be competitive. And he's a good fit for a
He's not a
Fiorentina
20 million
side.
gross player a year. He's not.
No. And he thinks he is. And I think that's the frustration of the fans, but his own frustration as well. I think he has this feeling that he's like God's gift to football. And he evaluates himself at times.
There's a YouTube comment from our friend Damiano. If we donate dues onto Goodwill, can we get a tax write-off of 12 million?
I'm sure that's how it works. Yeah, I love that Damiano joins us on the lives. And actually, we momentarily went double digit viewers, boys. Love it.
Let's go.
Love it so much. This is just the beginning. I see a great future in these YouTube lives. We have to run, boys and girls. Before we do, for bonus points, for a couple of Alessandro Belpieros. On this day in 2015, we played against Monaco. Who can tell me the score? That was the first leg at home. And give me the goal
That was
scorer.
when Mbappe was with them, right?
That's right.
2015.
Yep, that's right.
Dybala?
No, actually, penalty by Vidal. It's been a while since we discussed him. Lovely comments.
Because I forgot. I apologize. I just have to give a shout out to Luigi. He wanted to be here. It was great to see him on Saturday. And for those who are repeat listeners, knows he's done about 3 pods with us. And just I know he'll listen to this. So Luigi, it was great to see you.
Luigi.
Turn with
Luigi's good people. It's a bummer.
Good friend.
It's a bummer we couldn't host him, but maybe next time. Boys and girls, episode number 295 in the books. Thank you so much for joining us. This was super fun. I feel like we are having more fun if they are live on YouTube with all your comments and all your additions to the pod. Sorry we couldn't get to a lot of the comments here. You guys are awesome for joining us. Check out this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your Android app of choice, and also YouTube. Besides the live, they're also posted as podcasts. Boys, thank you so much for joining us. I don't think we recorded in this formation in a while. So, Zach, Kevin, Fredo, it was awesome to hang out with you guys.
fun.
Boys and girls, check on your friends, stay hydrated, and Forza Juve.
Purple Finest.
Yeah, siamo finiti in B, gli unici a pagare per calciopoli. Yeah, e qui non ci piove, che nel cuore di scudetti sono 29. Volo tutto e tutti, solo per seguirti. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. Un solo grido, dalla curva si alzerà. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. Per 29 volte campioni d'Italia, per niente e nulla al mondo abbandonerò sta squadra. Tra tutte quante di fisse più.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. I want to get the fuck out of here. Come on, let's get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.